Hello and welcome to my channel on human design. Well, we've got a fine mix of questions for this week, and I'm going to start off with the first one from Eastern Tech Artists. This is their question. What does it mean open centers give us wisdom? Should we get in trouble to find out or avoid it? Also, is Sacral Open or the Solar Plexus Open a stronger attractor? For example, I'm far more conditioned to desire and lust than emotional drama. Okay, well, the thing about open centers is we are designed to be conditioned by them. You know, where we're open, we will be conditioned by the energy or whatever it is in that person that we don't have. It's not a matter of you avoiding it and trying to operate according to the mind of what should I do. You know, you're experiencing it all the time. You experienced it before you knew about human design. And the wisdom comes through the experience of meeting something very different to you. And also the amplification and the distortion that happens within you because of your previous experiences, your background, whatever it may be. So wisdom is something that happens over time. I mean, you've got to have the experience. And then you get to feel the subtleties in the different emotional channels, for example. Remember, every single gate has about 1,000 and I think it's 27 different possibilities. If you go all the way down through line and color and tone and bass. So even if you meet the same channel, you're meeting a different version of it. And it may be a version in the frequency that works for you. So no, it's not about avoiding it. It's about meeting it and learning from it and seeing that it is not you. You know, not making emotional decisions because there's an emotional being near you. And if you are emotional, you can't avoid it. There's about half the people on the planet are emotionally defined. So, you know, don't even try. Is the sacral or the solar plex the strongest attractor? Well, the solar plexus has dominance in terms of the conditioning factor because it is both a motor and an awareness. So yeah, there's many things to be learned from the open solar plex, you know, from those that have it defined. A stronger attractor? Yes, it is. And at the same time, if you're an open sacral, whenever you are around a sacral, there will be this, you know, this sense of, look, I got to be doing something. What am I doing? You know, you want to do things. You amplify their energy and end up doing things and exhausting yourself. You say you're more conditioned by desire and lust than emotional drama. Well, this is what the open solar plex fails to grasp, and something that all solar plex defined people know. You know, there's always two sides. There's always two sides. You can't have the desire and the lust without the drama. It's part of it. It's inherent in it. And that's part of what you'll be learning as time goes by. And it's not like the drama is always a negative drama. Even when it's negative, it can bring something that is fundamentally profound into your life as you see it. As I said in the last video, when the emotional being comes to their truth, it's really something to encounter and to see that there can be such clarity. So I hope that's helpful. Thank you very much for your question. The next question comes from Incandescent Voltage, and this is their question. In my human design journey, I've come to wonder if much of what human design calls the not-self can also be understood as a dysregulated nervous system. The more people I see diving deeper into their charts and doing genuine self-reflection, the more I notice a common thread. Many of us were operating from old survival patterns, conditioning, and nervous system responses that became our normal. I also believe emotional openness doesn't have to mean being overwhelmed by emotions. The real growth comes from learning how to work with emotions wisely, feeling them, listening to them, and communicating them responsibly, rather than unconsciously lashing out and hurting others. That, to me, is where both healing and maturity begin. So let's tackle your question that had a few things in it. one at a time. So is conditioning the result of a dysregulated nervous system? Well, within human design, there is many sides of the biology, including the nervous system, that we have. So not all conditioning is from the nervous system, whether it's working well or not. So that's kind of that kind of answers that one. And it depends, you know, I'd need an example to look at if I was going to talk about it in a precise way. But no, that's not the whole thing. Emotional openness doesn't have to be emotionally overwhelmed. Yes, exactly. That's exactly the point. If you've done your work, and you know, anyone, you've got to understand, anyone that gets into human design is going to go into a process, their process. Deconditioning is a matter of process, and bit by bit, certain things begin to fall away that is no longer part of us. So the whole point is to get to the point where you can stand in the emotional wave, see it as something outside of you, take in, you know, the power of it, and at the same time not react to it. But you've got to really come to your center to be able to do that. And if you're in your center when that happens, then yes, it's actually a fantastic experience, and something that we can learn from. Absolutely. You don't have to be overwhelmed by it. You also say that the real growth is about working with the emotions wisely, feeling them and going into them. Well, if you're open emotionally, what you're feeling is an amplified and distorted conditioning field. And you can easily get caught in that. Remember, the emotional system is always moving. It's always in movement. If you've got it as an open center, then it's something that you chew on, you know, and it doesn't move. It's like an issue you end up getting caught up in, whereas the emotionals will move on, you know, unless it's something that's really important to them, in which case they keep coming back again and again. And yes, it has to come to some resolution. But for the open emotionals, they can hold on to, you know, stuck feelings for a long, 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 long time, and unconsciously hurling emotions out. Again, if someone's in reaction, they're not really in control. Remember, there is no logic on the emotional side of the chart. There is no way of dealing with emotions in a logical way. They are illogical. They are feelings. They are feelings. So they will be hurled out. And if you have an emotional system, you have already learned that you don't want to upset people. You know, most emotional people don't want to upset people. And yet sometimes it's too much and it just comes out. The open emotionals, if they're reactive, then they will go into a whole thing about it. And yes, that's when it can get out of control, because it's really just the reaction, the power of the reaction. And they need to get away from that field. They need to move out of the conditioning field. Ra spoke many times of him being affected by the emotional energy of others that would send him into an incredible rage or have tears running down his face, you know, and then as soon as they left, he would come back to himself. So there's a lot of wisdom to be learned from both sides, and it's something to process, is really my point here. So hope that was helpful. Thank you for that question. Our next question is from Waking the World. We have to accept the way we are and not be someone we're not to appease the other. That goes against the grain. And then she talks about a relationship she had with 7 electro-magnetics, and it was, you know, really quite a wild thing. But in the end, they ended up splitting up. I mean, 7 electromagnetics is a lot to hold. She then quotes from Richard Rudd's book, "Sometimes differences are really irreconcilable." So could that have been our demise in the long run anyway? Is Richard right? How many romantic relationships are there between people with different circuitry? Got to be a lot. Most? Or are some combos easier than others? Is it like it's better to hook up with your own type scenario? That's not always possible either. You get drawn to people before asking for their birth data. I always feel that with understanding on both sides and accepting aspects that we cannot change, a relationship could work. Well, I agree with Richard on this one. And there are, when it comes down to circuitry, if someone has circuitry that you don't have, it's new, it's exciting, it's different, and at the same time, they're not going to change, you're not going to change. And if you're a logical person and you want to go in a logical direction in the future, and you're in a relationship with an individual person that wants to do their own thing, that's not going to change. And talking about it is going to come to understanding, but you're still probably going to be heading off in different directions as the relationship continues. So yes, certain circuitries are very important. And yes, if someone has the same channel as you, or is mainly the same circuitry as you, there'll be much more common ground in order to discuss things and work things out. And there are limits to working things out. There are limits to compromise when one's living one's own life. So yes, it's something to really ruminate upon and see for yourself in the people that you meet. And yes, I get about the point that we are attracted to certain people before we know their chart. Fair enough. There are people that I meet along the way that I don't check out their chart. I don't need to. It's something like, am I enjoying this connection? Yes, I am. Great. At some point, if it grows into something, then yes, I'll look. But it's not the first thing. The first thing for me is the response, the openness to spending time with this or that person, or the repulsion and not wanting to spend any time with them. So yeah, I trust my response, and it's informed by my splenic intuition, and that's good enough for me. But I invite you, viewers, take a look at the people that you know that have completely different circuitry to you, and see what you find. See what you find. Go deeper into it. Are there certain things that you notice again and again? That's the truth. So great question. Thank you for that. And our final question for this week is going to be from 5Cat. This is her question. Once we begin to understand our open centers and what we are not, and how condition affects us in these areas, how do we begin to learn what areas of natural talents or strengths we do have, not what conditioning has told us we are? For example, as a mental projector, a 3/6, I have only the 64/47 and 63/4 channels, the 61 in a hanging personality and the 43 and 17 hanging. So only head and ajna defined via design, and the rest open and a totally open route. I have the 17, 18 and 46 hanging in both design and personality. I have so many interests and I'm never bored, but I've never found my professional niche, which has meant very uninspiring and not really correct jobs that are just for survival in the material world. Can you assist with any ideas for discovering what we are good at as we continue our experiment? Those who do not have energy channels, are we projector reflectors to primarily stay open to external energy of others, or transits to find our strengths? This is still an area of uncertainty, so any insights would be deeply appreciated. Well, 5Cat, you ask great questions. I mean, you bring in question after question. That's what you're really good at. You're here to think, and you're here to think in very different ways. You're here to think in an abstract way. You're here to think in a logical way because of the channels, but also you have the individual aspects as well. So you're really a thinker, and the fact that you're never bored is basically because you're taking in a lot of information to think about it. So that is where I would start. And yes, you're a 3/6, so lots of things don't work, and you're still looking for something that will really fit with you. I can't just give you a straight answer. if this was a session and an analysis, then I would look at all kinds of things in the chart, not just what you've told me. I would look at it from different perspectives. I would bring in other information. I would be in a dialogue with you. And that is really what is needed for us to discover the way through, you know, and you'll see it, you'll recognize it yourself when we hit upon it. I can't do it with the information you've given me, despite you giving me a lot of information. All I can say is that you're a thinker and you're a damn good questioner, and that question head of yours will always be asking questions. To be involved in something that pays you money to ask questions, to make sense of the confusion, and to see if there's a way through, you know, trying to find the answer to whatever the problem is very, very useful. And again, I haven't got hold of your chart. So what I would say just off the top of my head is, you know, you may make a very good teacher, someone who can bring things, who can make things clearer for people and interesting because of the questions, you know, that you can ask them. I'm thinking now of Liz Green, the astrologer. She only has the channel of logic. And when she lectures, she asks the audience, she says, well, here's the question, what do you think? And then she puts it through her logical mind going, well, that doesn't really add up, or interesting. Let's see if we can take it further. But yeah, I need to know your quarter. There's a lot of things I need to know before I would say something that would send you down the wrong direction. I don't want to do that. I just want to deal with the facts, you know. I just want to deal with the mechanical truth. And for that, I need a full chart. But great question, and think about what I've said. Okay, well, I hope you've enjoyed that, and I hope the viewers, you've enjoyed this as well. If you have, please like, share, and subscribe, and I'll be back very soon with something completely different. See you then. Bye for now.